Hi, my name is Hannah, and I'm in Mrs. Perez's Period 3 Algebra 1 class. And the three equations we're going to be dealing with today is 9 plus 2x equals 3 times 7x plus 3, and 3 times 7x minus 3 is greater than negative 8x minus 9, and I equals v over r. Now, before we get started, we need to know the difference between these three problems. The first problem is an equation, and you can tell that this is an equation because it has an equal sign. Only equations have equal signs. So that is how you know it is an equation. An inequality looks a lot like an equation, but the difference is that an inequality has a greater than sign, a less than sign, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to sign. So that's how you tell the difference between the two. And then a literal looks different from the two of them, but you can tell that because it's just variables. You can solve for those variables too. But those variables can also be replaced by numbers, so literal isn't always just variables. Now, the first problem we're going to be working with is 9 plus 2x equals 3 times 7x plus 3. The first thing you want to do is distribute. So when distributing into the parentheses, you always want to multiply since the 3 is right next to the parenthesis. So 9 plus 2x, that stays the same, and then equals 21x plus positive 9. So you get this by timesing 3 times 7, so that would be 21, you keep the x, plus positive 9. So you would get 9 plus 2x equals 21x plus 9. Now the next thing you want to do is get rid of the extra 2x. You are going to subtract the 2x instead of the 21 because you always want to keep your equation positive. It's much easier to solve that way. So by subtracting 2x, that will give us 9 equals 19x plus 9. Now this goes for whether you're subtracting with variables, with numbers, constants, whatever. You always want to subtract, add, divide on both sides so it balances out the equation. So positive 2x minus 2x cancels out, and then 21x minus 2x would give us 9 equals 19x plus 9. Now the next thing we are going to do is subtract 9 on both sides like I said before. So that would give us 0 equals 19x. Now you're going to want to divide by the 19 because the 19 is right next to the x, and that means they're being multiplied. So you want to divide to try and get your answer, and 0 divided by 19 gives us x equals 0. Now for the application. Comcast charges $34 for a sign-up fee and $14 per month. DirecTV charges $50 for a sign-up fee and $12 per month. After how many months will the cable services cost the same? Now, our equation would be 34 plus 14x equals 50 plus 12x. Now, if you're wondering how we got those numbers, it's because the numbers are all in the problem. It says Comcast charges $34 for a sign-up fee. That's just the first fee. We're not adding anything else to it. That was just the first time thing. So that's our constant, 34. And then it says, and 14 per month. We don't know how many months or how many months there will be, so all we can guess is 14x because we don't know that. And then there would be an equal sign since we're moving on to a new cable service in the next sentence. And then 50 would be our constant, and then 12x would be how much it would be for a certain amount of months. We don't know that yet. Now you want to keep it positive, so that didn't show you, but you want to keep it positive, so you would subtract the 12x from each side, and that would give you 34 plus 2x. So by subtracting 12x from each side, that would give us 34 plus 2x equals 50. The next thing you'd want to do is subtract 34 on both sides, and that would give us 2x equals 16. Now since the 2 is right next to the x, that means they're being multiplied, so you need to divide to figure out your answer. So divide by 2 on each side, and your answer will be x equals 8. It will take 8 months for the cable services to cost the same. The next problem we'll be working with is 3 parentheses 7x minus 3 is greater than negative 8x minus 9. Now again, you're going to want to start with distributing. So 3 times 7 is 21, so that would be 21x. And now, if you look closely, there isn't a plus sign but a subtraction sign. So that means that 3 that is after the subtraction sign is negative. So that's negative 3. So positive 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. So our equation after distributing would be 21x minus 9 is greater than negative 8x minus 9. So after doing this, you're going to want to add 8x on both sides to keep the problem the same. Also, when you're working with inequalities, you always want to try and keep the x on the left side of the sign. Because if you keep it on the right, you're going to have to do some flipping of the signs later. So it's just much easier to always keep your variable on the left side of the equation. So after I add my 8x, that will give me 29x minus 9 is greater than negative 9. Now you're going to want to add 9 to each side, and that would give us 29x is greater than 0. Now you're going to want to divide just like you would in an equation. So 29x divided by 29 and 0 divided by 29, and that would give us x is greater than 0. Now, with an inequality, there are more steps that you need to do. So that was our answer, and now we're going to have to do other things with it too. We're going to have to find the step builder and the interval notation. So this is what it looks like. We're also going to have to graph. So the step builder is a squiggly line, and then the variable that was used, and then a wall. So you have the variable, then a wall, and then you just add your answers. So the step builder for this equation would be squiggly line, x is greater than 0, squiggly line. The interval notation tells you the number range from this number. So the smallest number in this equation would be 0. So 0 would go on the left side. And the biggest number, we don't know what number x could be, so it could be anything up to infinity, so that is the infinity sign. You also have to graph. So on a number line, you would draw an open circle because this is just a greater than sign. There is no line underneath, it's just a greater than sign. So you draw an open circle with, and then color in the graph shaded all to the right because x is greater than 0. So x could be all the numbers greater than 0. So our graph would be shaded to the right. Alright. Now for the application. Sally's test scores for math are 72, 83, 79, and 38. She wants to know if getting a 50 on the next test will be enough to earn a B for the semester. Give Sally an explanation on what she needs to do to earn a B. So you're going to take your numbers 72, 83, 79, 38, and 50, and you're going to put that over 5. But before you divide those numbers by 5, you have to add them all together. So once added all together, that would equal 322. So then you would divide by 5. So that would give us 64.4%. Now a 64 is a D, so she would not be earning a B, but a D in the class. So Sally will not be getting a B in the class. Okay, now for the literals. I equals V over R. Okay, to solve for V, you would write the equation again, I equals V over R. Now since you can only divide by the denominator, we have to multiply by R, since we cannot divide by our times by our numerator, only our denominator, even though we're solving for V. So we have to times by R, and that would cancel out the the other R, so that would give us V equals I times R. To solve for R, that would give us I equals V over R, that we writing our literal. And again, we would multiply by R because we're trying to solve by timesing our denominators. So that would give us R equals V over I. Okay, now for the word. Okay. A light bulb has a resistance of 4 ohms and a current of 2 amps. What is the voltage across the bulb? Use the formula from the number 3 where I equals the amount of current in amps, R equals the resistance in ohms, and V equals voltage in volts. Now, a little trick, like a little thing I like to do that helps me out is write out the equation with what it equals to. So I is amps, and then V is voltage, and R is ohms. Just so I have that visual and I don't have to keep going back into the equation and reading, trying to figure out what it says just based on what the paragraph says. So then we need to replace the variables with numbers. So it would be 2 equals V over 4. We're replacing I with 2, because that's the amps it said, and then R with 4. We still don't know what V is, so to figure out V, we need to multiply 2 times 4. And that gives us V equals 8 volts. And that's it.